Hey guys, welcome back to RHR Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Guys, you're catching me on such a good day. It is the next part of my sit down with John Witherspoon, friend of the show. He's so good at this and he's really a pleasure to talk to and really took his time to answer all of our questions and dive into the Andrew of it all and how it relates to Fergie and King Charles and Prince William and everything else. So I really enjoyed this sit down conversation and I hope you do too. And I really can't wait to bring you more stuff like this. So make sure you're giving him the follow. He's Witherspoon DC on Instagram and enjoy our next part of the sit down. Thank you. So do you think, again, we're just speculating. I just wonder, is Fergie's throwing Andrew under the bus, or is it more they have kids together, so maybe they're a team, not so much throwing him under the bus, throw the royal family
That's
under
a
the
really interesting question. I had not thought of that, but from
bus.
what I understand, there's a pretty fractured relationship already in the family. I think one of the daughters, I'm not sure which one, has apparently said, I'm drawing a firewall between myself and my father because of what's alleged to have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, those types of situations among members of a family dictate the extent to which people are comfortable throwing each other under the bus.
True.
So I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. And also, Fergie and Andrew haven't been married for quite a while. So, she may not have the latest and greatest information about him.
True, but I would think she'd know where the bodies are buried, allegedly, or I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
hypothetically. That's a bad expression, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
You'd think, yeah, she would know some scandals, but then again, he would know them on her. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Interesting game to play. But back to Harry and Meghan. Yeah, I do. I think this should have them on edge, but I agree with what you're saying, where they have no, I don't know, self-awareness.
Correct.
I don't know if it would have. They probably think, well, that's more proof that the royal family is bad. Ha ha ha. It's like, no, no, you're proof that the royal family's bad. No.
Well, we've already seen that in the People magazine article. Harry's frustrated that he's being compared to his uncle. And it's like, nobody is accusing Harry of having hung around with Jeffrey Epps at this point.
Right.
But what I think everybody does have fixed in their mind is that you are a very unlikable person. People are exhausted from hearing from you. They're exhausted from hearing from the woman that you dragged into the British royal family. Mm-hmm. And they're exhausted about hearing from your uncle and about your uncle.
Right.
So I mean, and I can't believe, they supposedly, they keep churning through all these, PR agencies and advisors and chiefs of staff and everybody else. But you would think that somebody would say to them, hey, you guys really ought to lie low and keep quiet and just ride this out. Because the only way that they stand even the remotest chance of being taken back in any kind of a way is to humble themselves. I'm not sure this is going to happen, but to humble themselves on William at some point. By the way, let me just say something about William as well.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about the survival of the British royal family, the monarchy, and all this. I think if it were not for William, and we don't know everything about William either. Everybody, loves William and he's a hunk and he's this, and I get it. Fine.
Watch yourself, mister.
I like William a lot. I think he's a great guy. I'm just saying we don't know the complete William. We only have our best impression. And assuming that the impression that we have is the full impression, then great. I'm thrilled. Seems like a great guy. But I will point out as well, I think really the secret sauce in William is Catherine.
Yes.
Because she seems like
she's wonderful.
again, superlatives don't do justice to how great she seems to be in every way.
That's right. I
I
agree.
think she's genuine, she's warm, she's lovely, she's very attractive, she's athletic, she seems to be a great mom. On and on there. Yeah, there they are at the BAFTAs.
Yes.
And then she's a sympathetic character on top of all that because of her illness that she's been through. I mean, what's not to like?
Right.
But my point is, though, that her presence validates William in a wonderful way.
Yes.
In the same way, by the way, I don't think Harry would seem as unappealing as he does if he had married. I mean, let's just hypothetically, what if Harry and Cressida had gotten married?
Right.
Imagine what our impression of Harry would be at this point in time.
Right.
Interesting thought exercise. But I
Absolutely.
think Catherine is critical. If there's anybody, if I was asked a question and, say 10 years from now, look back, who saved the British royal family? I would say it was Catherine.
Yeah. Gotcha. I'm going to say Catherine and William together, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if
I
William
just,
had married some,
Mhm.
if take the difference between Catherine and Meghan,
Uh-huh.
and if William had married a woman who was 50% of Catherine, 50% of Meghan,
Right.
I think people would view him very differently,
Oh yeah. I get what you're saying. I
and
agree.
the whole monarchy very differently at this point. I think the thing that will ultimately save the monarchy is going to be, I think it'll be a last chance kind of a scenario,
Mhm.
but I think the reason that it will be a last chance as opposed to forget it, we've had enough, is because of William, and as you said, William and Catherine together. But
Mhm.
the reason that people will be willing to give the British royal family one more chance after all of this foolishness is because of William.
I agree with you, and I'm glad you brought this up because if you don't mind, I'd like to end. I just had some questions in regard to William and Catherine, and
Sure.
that's exactly it. I think with William as the heir, and of course Catherine by his side. Do you think that will force them to modernize the monarchy more aggressively than we've already seen? Like, what do you think that their monarchy looks like?
I think their monarchy is going to look like most of the other European monarchies at this point.
Okay.
I don't think, and again, it goes back to what we were talking about before in terms of we've had social media for 25 plus years at this point,
Hmm.
or 20 years at this point. And I don't think that a royal family shrouded in mystery
Hmm.
in terms of who they really are, what their activities are, what their finances are, more than anything else. I mean, we're going into, and that's something nobody's ever talked about. We're going into an era right now where, at least in the United States, one of the big concerns is that young people, who, by the way, are not terribly disposed in favor of having royal families, not that we have it in the United States, but if we did, we've reached a point in the United States where younger people are no longer aspiring to do better than their parents and their grandparents did.
Hmm.
Young people right now are in survival mode,
Hmm.
and I think that's true across the globe. And because of that, there's probably increased resentment and decreased tolerance for a system that includes a family where nobody knows how much income they make. Nobody knows how much they make from offshore wind farms that the crown owns. Um, people are just not going to put up with it anymore.
Hmm.
They're just not.
Hmm.
So I think the format of a future British royal family is going to look a lot more like the European model, the continental part of the continental royal families, like the Dutch royal family, or they get trotted out, and the king, the queen, the daughters, they wear the fancy dresses, blah blah blah, on Orange Day and everything else in the Netherlands, and great. But as far as having a major role in the adjudication of the country and the government and everything, I just don't see that really being something that is going to be tolerated over the long haul. By the way, one of the things that's come up repeatedly, and we didn't talk about this, but one of the things that's come up repeatedly in this business with Andrew is that if he would end up in court, the prosecuting party would be, it used to be Regina or Regina, depending on how you pronounce it, from what part of the world, but it's Rex now. Rex being formerly was the queen, now it's a king, so it's Rex. And that's his brother.
I don't understand what you're saying right now. What?
The court system, when you're like if you commit a crime in the United States, it's the state of New York versus Joe Smith drove too fast. That's how the court case is written up. But in the UK, if you commit an offense, the case is brought into court as Rex versus Joe Smith, meaning the king versus Joe Smith.
I did not realize that.
Yes. It's the king's court. Just like it's the king's
absolutely. Yeah. I just
king's highway and the king's this and the king's that. And so that's going to complicate things. And conceivably, it's possible that there's going to be some sort of conflict because there's a question of, well, can the king testify if needed, or can the king be dragged into a legal proceeding in his own court?
I would think that's up to the king, and the king says that he's playing ball with the law, but I understand that I'm just so pro monarchy. I might be burying my head in the sand. I get what you're saying. Can we trust that?
It's just a very weird wrinkle. That's all.
It is.
It's not like, the governor of the state of New York or the governor of Michigan or the governor of Ohio or Florida or whatever it is. Yeah, they're sort of involved, but it's really the collective people in the state of Florida who have said, we don't like how fast you drove down our highway, and so we've brought the prosecutor in here to deal with you in the court system. But the governor of Florida does not necessarily have a say in the case in the way that the king would conceivably have a say or have control of a case in the UK. Again, it's just a weird anomaly that could affect the outcome of whatever investigation or court case they end up having over there for Andrew.
I agree. Wouldn't there be information that they would say, you're not privy to that as not a member of the royal family?
Yeah, potentially. But here, the difference between the United States, there's no Fifth Amendment per se in the UK in the way that we have it here. The Fifth Amendment says that you have an absolute right against self-incrimination. You cannot be forced to testify against yourself, which is why some people get dragged into court and they're asked to testify and they say, I won't do it. And there's no inference that can be drawn. It's a little different in the UK because, for instance, when you get dragged in under caution, as Andrew was the other day, one of the caution basically says, again, you're not required to tell us everything that you know, but if you don't, and then you at some point later on, you do decide you want to bring up some information, well, the fact that you didn't want to tell us during the interrogation and in the investigation part of the process, the fact that you remained silent then and then decided to talk about something later on, that can be held against you, which is a little bit different than it is here.
Oh, interesting. Huh. I didn't realize that. I'm just wondering, I don't know, there's a whole interesting aspect too to the crown portion of it.
That's right.
knowing the
And
who's
that's
who's
why
privy
even,
to what.
you know,
Yeah,
they talk about, well, if Andrew was dragged into court, who would be dragging him into court?
that's
It's
what
the
I'm
CPS, the
exactly.
Crown Prosecution Service.
Right, and
That's his
then
brother's prosecutor.
that's it, and then who fills in the prosecutor because there's nobody has access to everything behind the royal curtain besides the king and the queen.
Yeah, it's very complicated.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about it. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Interesting. And then, okay, on William, if hypothetically, no ill will toward King Charles, but if he becomes king, let's say someday soonish, how do you picture him handling loose ends? Again, hypothetically or allegedly, like Andrew's lingering presence and Harry's, reconciliation attempts. Do you think he'll be more ruthless than Charles has been, especially I don't to look out for himself and Catherine and his children? I mean, what are your thoughts? Just speculating. I just wonder.
I think William will come in and will spend a considerable amount of time at the beginning of his reign
Mhm.
cleaning up, just as you said, loose ends.
Okay.
He's going to want to do a major revamp, and he's going to want to snuff out all of the little fires here and there, to include Andrew and Harry and Meghan and anybody else who's causing a problem, because he's going to know that the public is well and truly fed up
Mhm.
at this point, fed up with the secrecy, fed up with the unenviable behavior, to put it charitably. He's just not going to have any tolerance for it, and he's smart enough to know that for his own sense of self-preservation and for the preservation of the monarchy, he's not going to have any choice but to do that.
I totally agree. And I think it's in the best interest to do that because you got loose cannons,
Right.
like your Andrews and your Harrys and et cetera. So yeah, I
That's
think
right. That's right. And that'll be a shock to Harry. There'll be an absolute shock and a source of outrage for Harry. He won't get it at all.
Well,
He'll
I
probably spend the rest of his life feeling like he's been ripped off and done dirty.
he's talking about who got the bigger breakfast sausage 30 years later. So of
Yes.
course, yeah.
Yes. Talking about how he, when he was a child,
Mhm.
when he was a child,
Absolutely.
absolutely unbelievable.
Right. And to ignore all the privilege, and I hate that word, but I don't know how else to say it, all the benefits that he's received, and then to put in paper such petulant grievances such as that, no.
Well, and the lack of critical thinking, the lack of logic. I mean, for him to come out and say, well, I deserve security because I didn't have a choice but to be born into the royal family. Okay, fine. You also didn't have a choice of inheriting however many millions of pounds from the Queen Mother and
Right.
from the Queen and from Diana and from who knows where else. Why
Sure.
didn't you renounce the proceeds from your book and give that to charity? Why
right.
didn't you turn that over to Invictus and help veterans? I mean, it just is unbelievable. The
Agreed.
lack of, again, critical thinking skills does
Absolutely.
not make any sense at all.
Nope.
It really doesn't. And you're also, hello, you were born second. I'm sorry. That
Yeah.
stinks for you. You probably would love to have been born first. And that's what they
Right.
keep saying about Andrew. That boggles my mind as well. Oh, Andrew would love to have been the king.
Of course you it'd be done. It would been, yeah.
It's just remarkable. Just remarkable. The depth of the cluelessness. By the way, speaking of Harry's security, this is not done based on a formula. I heard someone say the other day, and I think this will be very interesting to see how this plays out. But someone said the other day, this is based on, there's a little bit of, gut feeling and instinct involved in this, and with all of this scorn that has been heaped on the royal family all of a sudden, I don't think that bodes well for Harry getting a positive decision from Ravik about his security.
No.
I mean, can you imagine what okay, fine, we're going to throw millions of dollars a year out to California, halfway around the globe, 8 time zones away,
Exactly.
so that he can have 24-hour security paid for by the British taxpayer.
Exactly.
And how is that going to play
Exactly. You're so spot on. I agree completely.
among the
Yeah.
British public?
Exactly.
I think he's in a much worse position than he would have been otherwise.
I think so too. And I find that chef's kiss, like I can't stand that guy. So I think that's perfect. He and Uncle Andy can, enjoy the hell of their own making, in my opinion.
And I just would ask you, Jen, was there you say you can't stand the guy. Was there a time when you thought he was a good guy?
I'm the one person that it's not that I have any great gift. I just didn't care about. I've just never cared about him. I've never cared about him. And
Okay.
I understand that a lot of people saw the good in him and thought he was, I don't mean cute looking, I mean cute personality, maybe, but I only had eyes for William, and no, not in the way that sounds, because I know everybody thinks he's a hunk. I never cared about that. I don't know. I just only paid attention to William, and that's the honest truth. So for better or for worse, I may be an idiot for not paying attention to that, but I just didn't care about Harry. I've always said that. I just couldn't care about him.
I'm just curious, because there are a lot of people that say, oh, we really thought Harry was great. And especially even, when he and Meghan first got married, oh, we were so thrilled. She was going to be a breath of fresh air, and she was an American, and she's a person of color, at least, technically on paper, genetically. She's mixed race, and so the children are going to be mixed race.
Right.
And now all of a sudden it's like, God, we can't stand a lot of them.
Yeah.
What happened? Well, we know what happened, but it's a remarkable turn of events. There are not a lot of people in the position that Harry and Meghan were in that screw it up in the way that they have screwed things up. It's kind of remarkable.
It is to have.
And there are even people, you look back at, you can look at the Kardashians. They weren't always beloved, or Paris Hilton was not always beloved, or few other people here and there that have managed to actually rehabilitate themselves. They were not well-liked people, and they've actually managed to climb up out of the hole that they were in. Harry and Meghan, nope, exactly. Every week that goes by, they're less and less appealing to most people.
Agree. And you know what? I can perfectly tie this up for you, because you brought up that People magazine article a lot. And I actually covered that in a separate video a couple days ago, because I think I saw it just a little bit different in terms of, I just saw it as so disgusting, because I believe, and this is just my opinion, no proof, I believe that that is Meghan Markle every time going to People.
Oh,
when
yeah.
they say I have a source, it is Meghan. So I believe Meghan Markle, maybe without Harry's knowledge in this case, ran to People magazine and said, we don't like it when Harry's compared to Uncle Andy, because I think she loves to compare the two. I think she wants that anything negative that can be any stank thrown on Harry can be that. And also I think Meghan can't stand that Andrew's getting attention. And that is so messed up to say, because we know why he's getting attention, but Meghan can't stand it. Doesn't matter what attention it is. That's my opinion.
I absolutely agree with that. And I mean, I think it's got to be a huge, huge source of frustration that the Andrew situation now, and now the guy that was just arrested today, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah.
The former British ambassador.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't think of his name either. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. But they have totally sucked the oxygen out of the room. And Harry and Meghan are gasping for air as a result of that.
Agree.
And you're not going to see any headlines anytime in the near future where some article is written about Meghan or Harry as long as this Andrew thing is still lingering out
Peter Mandelson, sorry. It
Mandelson,
was
yes.
Yes.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
apologies.
Thank you. I was
Yes.
going to say Keir Starmer, and I was like, no, that's
No.
not fair. Although he's not the
Yeah.
honored, he's not the graduation speaker right now either. He's not the class president as far as the public is concerned. But anyway, um,
Yeah.
I just, they have to be pulling their hair out.
Yeah.
In
Absolutely.
particular, her.
Yeah.
Particular her.
But yeah. Well, as we wrap this up, did you have anything else that I didn't ask you? Anything weighing on you? Any other thoughts on any of this stuff? I appreciate all your time and answering
My
our
pleasure.
questions.
Well, it's always fun. I always enjoy reading the comments and seeing the feedback and so forth. So I'll look forward to
Anything else?
that.
Yeah.
And I enjoy coming on and talking with you about all this stuff. And I mean, I think it's very interesting and I think it's timely and I think it's worth keeping track of. There are people who have asked me, why do you pay attention to the British royal family? You don't live there. You're in the United States. It's like, well,
It's
there is the
fast.
Harry and Meghan aspect of it.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's very interesting. I mean, the sociological aspect of it, the historical aspect of it. I hope the British royal family makes it up to 2066 or 2067, whenever it is, whether it's their 1,000-year anniversary. I think that would be a great thing.
Yeah.
And I think William can get them there, absolutely. And Catherine can get them there. And George can get them there. But it's just very interesting to watch. And obviously it's interesting for all of your viewers too. So I enjoy being part of the discussion.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. How can we further support you? What can we do?
Oh, well, like, subscribe, comment on Jen's channel.
Thank you.
And if you want to sign up for Witherspoon DC on Instagram, that's a way to keep track of when I launch my channel as well. So
We can do that. And do you mind? I never asked, but can they ask you questions here? Like if they had legal related questions, not specific to personal, but I just mean like if they had Harry or Meghan or general
yeah,
legal
sure.
questions.
You can feed it to my Instagram. Send a message. I'll keep an eye on whether those are coming in.
Okay.
Or some people in the past have written in the comments, like, I hope John, next time he comes on, maybe he can talk about this or this. And I've tried to include that.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
that's a good way to do it too.
Good. Yeah, they definitely will. Well, John, thank you so much for all your time and your answers and your thoughtful responses to everything. I really appreciate it. And your hat. Did you want to put that back on as we as we wrap this up? I mean, it's so fancy. Let me ask you, in your personal life, do you wear that around like when you go fill up your car with gas or whatever you're doing?
I can't say that I do that. I love this hat. It's the time that I spent in the UK when I was gifted this helmet, was very special. I had a wonderful time. And so I keep this on my shelf as kind of a trophy. And just like you keep your geese as trophies.
That's right.
So yeah, no, this is a great artifact of a great point in my life. So
that is very cool. Were you able to meet any of the royal family when you were over there? I'm just curious.
no.
Or be around. Okay, just curious. Yeah, that's cool. When you were arresting Andrew, you didn't meet.
Sorry.
All right. Well, you look fabulous, and thank you as always for your time. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to have you back. When is Harry back in court? I forgot to ask you that. Do we know?
I need to keep track of that.
That's fine. I mean,
think
there's
his
a lot of other
case,
stuff going on.
yeah, his case with Elton John and the other celebrities, I think is still underway.
And
I'm not sure. I think there's a March deadline in his visa case of some sort. I think there's a status report that needs to be given in March.
Okay. And I heard, is he coming to DC to speak? Do I have that right?
I believe he is coming to DC to speak on something that I think people are scratching their heads and saying, why are they inviting him? Apparently, by the way, the speaking fee, I think at one point when he gave his first speech after defecting from the royal family, I think he got $1 million. And reportedly, the fee now is somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000.
Oh, wow. One pair of jean shorts for Meghan, right?
Yeah, right. Right.
So
exactly.
Are you asking us to go fund you to go to that speech? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's $1,500 to get in to that. It's a technology conference of some sort.
Okay.
And I think that's why everybody's kind of scratching their heads saying, what does this guy know about
Anything.
anything other than what his feelings have told him? You know what I mean? And so a lot of people are wondering about that. But then, the king and Camilla will be here at some point,
I heard
I
that.
think in the spring. And then I believe William and Catherine will be here in July for the 250th anniversary celebration. I think that's what's
Oh,
going on.
I've still not been up to that area. I must make a trip for. Sorry, no offense. I was going to say for William and Catherine.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to be here.
No way. I didn't
Yep.
realize that. That's great. Wow. What's King Charles going to do there? Do you know? Is he just visiting
Well, I think it's a reciprocal trip because obviously
Oh,
the
right.
president was over there recently
Right.
for the second time, which I think
Mhm.
has never happened before.
Mhm.
And so I think part of that was, I think when Keir Starmer was here, no, trying to think. He gave the president a letter inviting him to go on that trip that he took recently. But
Okay.
then I think over there they worked out something where the king and Camilla would come over here.
Okay.
So
Gotcha. Well, how exciting.
yeah,
Oh, you have to start your channel before then so you can put up some of that or at least film for your channel. Well, there,
that's a
if
good
you're.
thought. That's a good thought. I'm sure the weather will be nicer. We have 5 inches of snow on the ground here right now. So
Oh, do you? Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
it's not, I would not advise coming right now. It's a little
Okay.
cold.
Well, the royals aren't there now, so
Right. Right.
that's terrible. I'm just teasing. But please tell me you'll wear your fancy hat, your helmet, excuse me, when you're out filming for King Charles.
Maybe,
Okay.
maybe.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you again for everything. Really appreciate it. And I can't wait to have you back on really soon.
I'll look forward to it.
All right. Take care. Bye
Bye.
bye.